All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Irrational Confidence Podcast. We're talking NFL football, and the schedule is out. We have 3 months to pour over this thing, make our predictions. Who's going to go to the Super Bowl? It's already been decided. A bunch of people using the same joke that they used prior to the schedule. You know, my team and this team is playing in Las Vegas in February. But the man who makes no jokes about Las Vegas, my co-host Fresh. Fresh, how you doing, buddy?
No jokes about Las Vegas, but there are some people that live on the strip that we can make fun of at any time we want to. Haps, I'm doing great. It is amazing how a schedule reveal becomes must-see tweets, must-see television for like a 48-hour period during a week. But it's something that the country, the world just starves for NFL football and football in general, and having that just gives you a little taste until, you know, preseason and training camp come in July and August.
Yeah, my favorite guy on the Las Vegas Strip is the guy who says, "Ninjas killed my family. Need money for kung fu lessons." Have you seen that guy before?
I have not, but I assume he's probably related to the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, he's usually on that overpass in between. I want to say like he's over by the Flamingo, I think usually. So
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
So, Fresh, I'm excited for the schedule, I guess. And when I say I guess, it's still too far away for me really to get excited. But I got let's start off with a little trivia question. Because my favorite thing in the world is the Sunday Night Football Open, sung by the wonderful, amazing, and absolutely stunning Carrie Underwood, who replaced who?
Faith Hill.
All right. Who did Faith Hill replace?
Oh,
There's there's been three, and I'll give you some clues. There have been three female singers who have sung the opening for Sunday Night Football, waiting all day for a Sunday night. One is the current Carrie Underwood. Second is the amazing Faith Hill. Who's the third? It is a female singer.
let me start off with my first guess, Shania Twain.
No, it's not Shania.
Hmm.
I'll give you one more guess before we.
Give me another guess before we move on.
Give me one more guess.
Reba McEntire.
Nope, wrong genre there. It's actually Pink.
Oh yeah, now you think about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yep. Pink did it for a year, and then they switched to Faith Hill. All right.
Yeah, they made a good call about switching to Faith Hill. No offense to Pink, but it's just better.
Yeah, it sounds differently with a country person doing that song than Pink doing it, but she could do it now, and it sounds fantastic. All right, Fresh. Let's go to the schedule here. We're not going to go through the whole thing here, ladies and gentlemen, because it's just too much. And you're tuning in to this maybe to listen to what we think about maybe are the top 5, 6 games of the season going into it. We're looking at the schedule going, okay, where we are currently in the NFL offseason. There can still be moves to be made. There's trades that have already been made. So, Fresh, let's go 5-1. You got 5 games here? I got 8 games on my list here, and I got to narrow it down to 5.
I have a heck of a list. First we got to start off with. You could do it a list on your own with just the Jets being involved. And the schedule makers, if you look at their first 11 games, that's going to be that's a gauntlet they have to run through. And you could pick any of those games in that 11 to really run through it. But the Jets schedule is pretty daunting, and that's going to tell if they're playoff bound, Super Bowl contenders, division contenders, or have a lot to be wanting after all their recent trades. Just check out that Jets schedule because it is pretty impressive from the very start. I did an article. It took me a long time to really go through every single week and try to find the best game in the week because there were so many other tantalizing opportunities. But I got 5 to 7 that are truly just can't miss. And I'm starting off with week 4, Chiefs at Jets. Number 1, it's Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers. It's the defending Super Bowl champions. It's the Super Bowl hyped New York Jets in New Jersey, being played at MetLife, Sunday Night Football. it is going to be a big time affair, big time event. And at that point, if the Jets lose that game, they could be 1-3, 2-2, or it could be 3-1 and making a big move. But that could be a real turning point in the Jets season if they're finding a way to win or lose that ball game, where they're going to go the rest of the season.
Is do the Jets become like the team that all Packer fans are kind of rooting against? Similar to how Oklahoma fans last year rooted against USC all year long for Lincoln Riley.
Well, we have incentive for them to suck because if they suck
That's
and
true.
Rodgers plays 66%, we get a first round pick at it.
That's true.
Um, do I want Randall Cobb to have the most success? Obviously, I think he's an amazing guy, and Alan Lazard, great that he got paid. Um, Aaron, you've had an amazing career, but now that you're wearing a Jet uniform, I want you to lose because I don't want you to win a Super Bowl, and I want to get a first round pick. It's
Yeah.
that simple.
Yeah. Fresh, my number 5 game going into the season is week 15. It's late in the season, but it's when the Dallas Cowboys traveled up to Buffalo. I like this game a lot just because I look at both of these teams as two teams that are going to be scratching and clawing for respect, especially towards the end of the year. Because I think anybody right now going into the NFC right now is going to hand the NFC Championship game to the Eagles right now. I think everyone like forgets that there's a couple other good football teams in the NFC besides the Eagles. And I think Dallas could be one of those really good teams. I also think San Francisco could be very good this year, depending on what they get out of their quarterback play there. But I also think Buffalo is going to be either on a make or break year. I think that this may be the year that they kind of decide whether or not this whole thing that they've been doing up there in Buffalo with Josh Allen is really working. I think week 15, this is going to be at that point where you are mathematically eliminated from the playoffs or you're still in it. For Buffalo, it's going to be big because I think that there are at least 10 to 11 teams that are playoff contenders alone in the AFC, and it's going to be very, very difficult to get one of the seats when the music stops.
I mean, that is a winner game as well. Sometimes, the Cowboys might have to go on the road. How can they play physical up in a snow effort? And I think you brought up a great point there about the Bills. Is this the end of that window? Um, the AFC East is a beast. When the Patriots under Bill Belichick, they're still going to be competitive. They're the fourth best team in the league. You got the Dolphins there. You got the Jets there. The Bills don't have the hand, it's not being handed to them anymore, much less the AFC in general. Cowboys, a very good football team. And I think that's what makes both these schedules tough is that the AFC East and the NFC East got to play each other in a crossover. So you're getting great matchups across the board, and we're going to see the mettle of both these teams when it comes to late December and if they're ready for a playoff run.
All right, Fresh, who you got for number 4 team?
My number 4 is Week 13. Cincinnati Bengals come here to Duval, take on Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Um, we'll know right then, are the Bengals still in that run? Because I think the Browns and Steelers are going to be improved. The Ravens are going to be improved. Are the Bengals still alive at that time? And then the Jaguars. There's no reason they shouldn't be, but are they truly ready to win and be the team that's everyone's hunting in the AFC South and to really show they're contenders, not just for a wild card, but to go a little bit farther in the playoffs and actually make more noise? This is a big late season affair. It's a primetime game here in Jacksonville. The lights are going to be on and down there at the bank. Where's this team going to go? This is going to be a big shining point early in the season to see where both these teams are and if they're ready for the stretch run in December.
Be interesting. I love to see what Jacksonville does. It seems like the Jaguars, every single time that they have a little bit of success, the following year they take a step backwards and they don't have that same level. They don't wind up making the playoffs. I would like to know when the last time the Jaguars made the playoffs in back-to-back years. It's got to be since the early 2000s, if not having to go back into the 90s here.
Yeah, I would
So
say probably the David Garrard era.
probably back all the way back then. All right, Fresh. My number 4 game this year is going to be week 8 when the Cincinnati Bengals travel all the way out to San Francisco, seeing Joe Burrow take on that vaunted San Francisco defense there. Sign me up for all of that because Burrow is one of those quarterbacks that travels very, very well and plays very well on the road. It doesn't matter how hostile the environment is, but that San Francisco defense is going to really have to do a lot this year for whoever, whether it's Trey Lance or whoever they get to wind up playing quarterback there, like we talked about for San Francisco. But the 49ers are a great team, and I think that they're only one or two pieces away from being a legit Super Bowl contender this year.
I mean, that could even be a Super Bowl preview, and we don't even know it because both those teams are talented. And let's just put it this way: the NFC West, not the most difficult gauntlet for the 49ers to run if they can just get decent quarterback play. The rest of the NFC is a whole different story, but it puts them in a spot to potentially get a home playoff game. This is a big leap for them to show where they truly are at as a football team, offensively, defensively, and can they compete? And then the Bengals, again, second time we've had them in a row here. What are we getting? Burrow, you've had 2 great years. This is that third year, that window. Is your window still open? You said your window's always open when you're playing with the Bengals, but the division in the AFC North has improved. Where are they going to be at this point, and can they actually win some big games on the road against a quality opponent?
Right. All right, Fresh, where are you going for week or your number 3 game?
Well, I would say just give me all of week 9, but I have to pick one game out of the entire schedule, and that's a loaded week. That might be the best week itself of the entire season. With that, I'm going to go with the Dallas Cowboys at the Philadelphia Eagles. Going into Philly, this is an amazing NFL rivalry, but it's going to set the tone. Who's going to run that division? There's a lot of hype around the Eagles right now. The Cowboys quietly have just had the offseason where they're not getting much attention. It's not is Dak ready? We're not getting all that talk. It's really been focused on the Eagles and the expectations of being there at the Super Bowl and getting close. This is a chance maybe for the Cowboys to use that game as we're going to go into Philly. We're going to show we can win a game on the road against a very quality opponent and then lock ourselves in first place and maybe even get that number 1 overall seed, and which might actually help them and Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys move farther and deeper in the playoffs. So it's gonna be a big test right there in the middle of the season to see where those two teams are at and maybe have some tiebreaker scenarios being coming into play later as the season moves on.
Yeah, that's going to be a very intriguing game. Week 9 was filled with games. I kept going back and forth of like 3 or 4 different games. I actually I had a hunch that you'd have a couple of really good ones there for week 9 there. That Chargers Jet Monday Night Football game is a really interesting one to me as well. Plus, you open up Sunday Night Football is Bengals and Bills. And we all know what happened last year. Like, there's going to be intrigue and story there week 9. So great week to pick out and kind of say, hey, this is going to be must watch TV for football fans.
Yeah, and it starts off with football in Germany with the Chiefs and the Dolphins. I mean, you're going to have all on headline games all day long.
I'm intrigued to see how well the German fans take to American football. I wonder if they'll be like the English fans. They really took well to it.
No, the Germans love it. They loved it when they had the European Football League back in the day. They love it with passion.
Yeah, my number 3 game, Fresh, is actually at the very end of the season, week 18. It's when the Pittsburgh Steelers travel to the Baltimore Ravens. I like that game a lot because I think that if Cincinnati stumbles along the way and they get off to a slow start, I think Pittsburgh's going to be improving. I think Baltimore is going to be very fascinating to watch, especially now that Lamar Jackson's back and got the contract done. You added in OBJ. Don't know how much he has left in the tank, coming off the second ACL injury there. There's a possibility that this game could be for the seller of the basement. Highly doubtful. But also could be a chance that this game is for the AFC North Division and a shot to go to the playoffs there or host a home football game. And, there even is the small possibility that this game, depending on how it goes, you could see a repeat of this game a week later in the playoffs. So I'm very intrigued to see how Pittsburgh Baltimore plays out. 2 great defenses, and a really, really, usually these 2 teams bring it for each other.
It's funny how you brought up a great matchup like that in the AFC North. It's kind of weird, like the AFC North and the NFC North. Nobody really knows what to expect in terms of like that team is by far the best team in the division. There's a lot of chaos that can happen with all 4 teams in both those divisions. They're very similar in that way. And you're right. That Steeler game could be for the division or could be for dead last in the division.
Yep. Who's your second favorite game this week?
My second, week 12, we're going to take Josh Allen heading to the city of brotherly love to take on the Eagles. A big road test mid to late season there. We'll know, are the Bills real? Because they're going to have a tough division in the AFC East. They can't they can't come out flat in this football game versus the Eagles. You're going to have tests all around. You have to find a way to squeak out wins, and division games are already tough enough. You're going to have to try to find a way to come into Philly and get a dub. With the Eagles, this is a chance for you to now again make a statement that you are the NFC title champions, defending champions, and you have not going to relinquish that anytime soon. And beating the Bills would definitely make a statement on a national level.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a week earlier for my number two game, but almost something very similar. And it's the Eagles traveling to Kansas City in week 11 for a Super Bowl rematch. This didn't make my number one game just because it's it's just a game in the regular season. While it does matter, it's not a conference game, it's not a divisional game. It's just a rematch of the Super Bowl. It's played in Arrowhead. While the game will have meaning, it won't have that crazy type of meaning that some of these other games have. But still, something that all of us are going to be locked in. We're going to want to see the Super Bowl rematch. We had a great Super Bowl this past year. Really, really came down to the wire, which is always what we want to see, especially if you're not a fan of the Eagles or not a fan of the Chiefs. You just want to see a really great game along with the commercials. And so I picked week 11 the week prior for my number two game.
Well, that brings me to my top game of the year that I'm looking forward to. This is a rematch of the past two AFC title games and the past two AFC champions. Bengals at Chiefs, Week 17, New Year's Eve. If the Bengals have a good season, they can get stuff together and keep being scrappy, and get that defense and offensive line playing better, or at least comparable. This game could be proceeding for tiebreakers, for a division title for one of those teams. There's a lot at stake right there late in the year, and you're going to have to who's healthy enough to be able to make that football game competitive and actually take advantage of it and win a big one on the road. We saw last year, the whole thing, who's going to get home field and the flip of a coin. Take care of this football game. If the Bengals go in and get a win, you make the Chiefs come to you for the first time. Patrick Mahomes has not played a road playoff game. You go into into Arrowhead and get a win here, you might then force a playoff game in Cincinnati if your two teams had to meet later on. So a lot at stake late in the season right there.
Yeah. Well, Fresh, that is also my number one game of the season, narrowly beating out the Week 17 game of the New York Jets traveling to the Cleveland Browns. I was real excited to see that late season Thursday night game where the Browns and the Jets play each other, who just a rematch of the first ever Monday Night Football game. So I know people are thinking that I'm pretty facetious on this one, but no, I'm not. I actually, every time the Jets and Browns play, always something interesting happens, especially when it's in prime time. But that did lose out to my number one game, and that too, I said Cincinnati versus KC. I think that's going to just be a phenomenal game in Week 17. Like you said, it could be for the number one spot in the AFC and could decide who gets that first round bye.
It's funny you bring up that Jets Browns game because I actually kind of looked at it's a Thursday night, the week of Christmas. Christmas Day is that Monday. Do the guys really fully practice that day? You got Tuesday, Wednesday, and then the Jets have to travel to Cleveland for that Thursday game. That's a real short week and a tight window with a lot on the line potentially for both squads. Who's going to have the energy to be up for that one? And Browns being at home, they would have an edge just a little bit from the energy perspective of not having to travel during the holidays. So that keep an eye on that one late in the year if both teams are locked in and playing for a playoff spot.
Yeah, if my Browns can do something this year, could be a fun time. But
Well,
I'm
Seth,
not putting my
speaking of the
hope.
Browns, what are your top three Browns games that you're looking at this season?
Well, the Jets one is probably my number one game, just because it's Thursday night, the tradition there. My second one is that early Monday Night Football. I think it's week number 2 against at Pittsburgh on Monday Night Football. The Browns, as of late, have played better in primetime games than they do on Sundays. So I really do like that game. And then the other one, and this one will be probably kind of shocking to people, but it's the two teams that I've lived and seen games for, and it's December 10th in Cleveland. Could be snowy, could be cold. The boys from Jacksonville travel up to Cleveland, and people know there's a reason why bottles are no longer sold at football games. And it was a time when Jacksonville traveled up to Cleveland. Now officiating was terrible in that game. It was prior to really really bad, and I believe that still was a catch, and the officiating screwed that one. But I like watching Jaguars Browns games every year, and that would be my top three right there off of just as pure fandom watching. No other interest other than that. I think it'd be a funny story. Browns traveling to Houston too. I think that's humorous, but that's just me.
I'm going to lock Deshaun in his hotel room until kickoff.
Yeah. Fresh, who are your top three Packers games this year?
Number one for me is opener. You got Jordan Love, his first real start without any injuries. Before this is his first full time start as the guy playing the biggest rival in your situation there. The Bears going down Soldier Field. It's a 4:25 kickoff. Everyone's gonna be watching on Fox. So it's a we're gonna know what he's made of. Next one, week 4, Lions at Packers on Thursday Night Football. The Lions took care of you twice last year. You're at home. It's week 4. We're going to have an idea what this football team is about by then. If they're competitive, or if they're clunking out, or if they're actually really going to excel. We'll know a lot by the results of that football game. And then the last one, you get down to week 17. We mentioned New Year's Eve before. This is going to be the 8:20 kickoff as it's scheduled now at Minnesota. Packers Vikings. Who knows? Like we mentioned about the North, they could be in for a spot or for the playoffs. They could be there just playing spoiler and keep the Vikings from winning the division. That game could end at midnight Eastern time, right as the New Year clicks. But it's going to be also a sign of Jordan Love where he starts week 1 and then where's he at the end of December. How does his team progress? How does he progress? Those 3 games, they're all division opponents. Also, got my eye on as we move forward in the season.
So not taking the Vegas game?
Outside of the game being in Vegas and Devontae Adams there against the Packers, it's not the biggest draw. I think you got to win your division, and I want to see what Jordan Love and this team does against the division, and how they grow up that way. And the Raiders be the Raiders. It is what it is. But I'm looking more at those 3 divisional games.
But you'll be in Vegas. That's why I figured you'd take
But
us.
I will be in Vegas. Those tickets will be expensive, but we'll be there.
That's awesome.
But I think I'm from a development of Jordan Love. I want to see those other 3 games.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, folks. This is just our quick take on the schedule, giving you top 5 games going into the NFL season. We'll take another look at as we're getting closer and closer to the season, but we're in the off season, we're in the summer months, which means it's coming up to college football preview time. It's time to start breaking down all of college football. So make sure you like, subscribe wherever you get your podcast from. Like, subscribe to the Spinable Sports YouTube channel. And guys, make sure you're leaving us those comments. Make sure you're following us on social media. I can get the words out today. A little difficult for me. It's been a couple of weeks since we've done this, so trying to get back into the routine of things here. So make sure you guys follow us all on social media. And special thanks to our producer, Drew. Without him, none of this is possible. Make sure you go into spinablesports.com and leave us that 5-star review because you guys know Fresh and I, we're those 5-star prospects. We'll catch you guys next time. And hey, we're almost the summertime.
Almost summertime. College football content coming to you at multiple different ways, as well as some more NFL. With that, everybody, y'all have a good one. Bye, y'all.